Hi everybody, welcome to this talk about the abandonment wound. This is the most common wound that we all carry. It's of course misunderstood, but by pretty much every single one of us. And if we were to be able to frame almost all psychological problems, almost all emotional problems or relationship problems that people run around with, that we all have, we could frame it as one big abandonment wound. To look at what is the abandonment wound, what are the signs of the abandonment wound, and how do we do to heal it? What can we do to heal the abandonment wound? That's the video today. Signs, symptoms of it, how to heal it, and what it can lead to when we have found that healing. So, what are the signs of having an abandonment wound? Staying too long in relationships, being in relationships that are dysfunctional, that you feel like maybe I shouldn't be here, but you keep on staying. Of course, we are looking, many people, if you're familiar with codependency, you're probably going to believe that this is complete and utter codependency, but we're going beyond that right now. We are going into the details of the abandonment wound, which then can lead into a bunch of codependent behaviors. So here's somebody who is staying too long in relationships, and they might go into relationships that they may not even want to be in that from the beginning. They also, another sign is when you sacrifice yourself for your partner, your comfort, your well-being, your money, your assets, whatever it may be. You always find yourself sacrificing in order to stay in the relationship. You stay in what we could refer to as uneven relationships. Relationships where it seems like they love you less than you love them, or they're not willing to meet you halfway. They are, you have to go all the way over to meet the other person. That is a sign that if you keep doing that, you suffer from an abandonment wound. You put your partner on a pedestal, or even your friends. You put them on pedestals and you think the world of them. And of course, people are awesome. But putting somebody on a pedestal puts you way down below that person and give away all your power. And you also start forgiving mistakes or things they do, behaviors they have that maybe you shouldn't be forgiving. Maybe you should put your foot down and be like, no, that's not okay. I want something else. I want a healthier relationship. I want to feel better. But when the abandonment wound is activated in us, we don't think we deserve better. We don't think we can find better. Because due to the abandonment wound, where we think we are not worthy of love or life, we think we are in need of this other person. That if they just love us, if only they could take care of us emotionally the way we want to be taken care of, then we will feel better. The abandonment wound is like this empty, big hole in your gut that you're trying to fill with another person. And actually, it's really interesting when you start breaking all of this down, right? Because even the abandonment wound gets expressed in extreme selfishness, right? We might take people hostage in order to not feel abandoned. As in, like, you can't leave me, I'm gonna die. Whatever it may be. But it's very easy to go into that space of feeling abandoned. And when we do, we do everything we can to stop that from happening. Whether that be, narcissistic behaviors up the wazoo, or you become a controlling person, you become negative, whatever it may be. But there's always the ulterior motive that you're trying to get the person to do something you want, which in this case is to stay with you so you don't have to feel abandoned. And here's the other thing. When we do put the person on a pedestal, we also think that they can rescue us, or that we need to rescue them. But their love will rescue us. Their love will make us feel complete. not abandoned any longer. So the one sign is to see others as if they are on a pedestal, thinking that they can rescue you. Uncontrollable lust or desire or urges. Those are signs that something is awry in your system, that your chakra system is off kilter. Addiction to love or sex. These addictions, so many of us are justified. Everybody wants a partner. Everybody, love is in all the movies, in all the songs and everything. There's this unrequited love, the abandoned person who just, I want to know what love is, right? Those songs that really are about heartbreak usually. How interesting it is when we start seeing that we are basically justifying a love or sex addiction by saying, well, everybody wants to feel this way or that way. Everybody who's hungry wants to eat. And if you're hungry because you're feeling abandoned, then you will want to eat love. And sometimes that comes in unhealthy forms. Or it looks like an addiction because we become addicted to whatever makes us feel not abandoned anymore. Along the lines of the abandonment wound, we're also looking at, we go to any length for another person, for a partner. We go way out of our way to rescue somebody else or be rescued. Because as you can see, if I can rescue somebody, they kind of owe it to me to stay with me in love. Now this all sounds pretty insane, but many relationships actually evolve this way, especially when they get dysfunctional, especially when pain and suffering begins to seep into the relationship. If you can relate to any one of these symptoms, you may have an abandonment wound somewhere in your system. Usually they are focused around our sacral chakra, the belly button area, because that's where our self-love lives. And if somebody has showed us that we're not worthy of self-love, if a parent or siblings or friends or family, when growing up, we've been shown that we are not worthy of love, that's going to get stuck in our own inner sense of self, which is located in the sacral chakra. It can affect the root chakra as well. Of course, that's partially, in men, the root chakra is where their sex organs are located, and in women it's located in the sacral chakra. So it hits us slightly different depending on what gender you are in this lifetime. But there's still an abandonment wound that we need to look at. And as we start to recognize, hang on, why did I stay in that relationship so long? Why am I having such a hard time with healthy boundaries? Why am I having such a hard time with feeling that need or urge for somebody? Why is it that I think that this one person, if they loved me, then things would be fine? Where does that feeling come from? Of course, we're sitting with an abandonment wound. Of course, we're sitting in an inner space where there's like a big hole in our gut. And if we have found what we think can fill that hole, whether that be drugs, alcohol, sex, multiple partners, feeling attractive all the time, feeling wanted all the time, whatever it might be that you need to fill your inner void, that's the sign that you have this abandonment wound. And as we start then looking into it, maybe you're aware of it, and maybe you already were aware of this before this video, but I had seen throughout my healing journey, I had seen that there was something about me in relationships, and there was something about me, how I put the person on a pedestal, and how I got, basically addicted or gave away all my power to these partners. And what the result was that I was always lacking. So that led to a contraction in the gut, in the feeling arena. And as we start then sitting with that, and in my case, it started early in life, feeling abandoned quite early. And there was not that anybody in particular dropped me off on the, on the steps of the church or anything like that, or put me on the creek, in a basket, nothing of that nature. But I felt extremely abandoned growing up. And that got lodged in my system very deeply. It took a long time, both to find the wounding and to learn how to heal it. And here's this little hack. One way to start to heal. There's so much talk, so many videos discuss the mind. You got to do it with your mind. And what my shaman teacher has been teaching me, and what's been working for me, is this: when we breathe deeply into the body and we find our contractions, you find spaces within you that carry a contracted energy. It's like where the discomfort in your system is hiding. And where is that? Have you found it? Almost everyone has some form of discomfort in their system. Almost everyone has something that makes them want to escape the present moment. And when that urge comes up, like when you feel the discomfort in your gut, you might pull out your phone. You might turn on the TV. You might open a bottle of wine, bottle of whiskey, whatever it may be. Or you might surf some dating app. I don't know. But you will be doing something to distract yourself from the feeling of discomfort in your system. And often that feeling of discomfort is connected to abandonment wound. Of course, there's many different forms of trauma. But the abandonment wound is something that we all have in one form of it or another. And so when you start finding it in your system, if you can relate to how you've been interacting in relationships, if you can relate to how you have felt this deep sense of abandonment within you, that you believe you need other people to save you, to rescue you, because for some reason, something happened to you, towards you, some sort of messaging came into you, where you started believing that you're not good enough to live a full, complete life, where you are abandoned for a reason. And as long as we don't look at those feelings, as long as we don't sit with the situations that caused those feelings, it's not going to go away. We can practice and learn mindfulness and control there's quite a few spiritual teachers out there who think we can control things. And that's just further strengthening the mind. And when we further strengthen the mind, we leave heart behind even more. And we're leaving the body behind. So coming back home, coming into your system, that is the antidote. To find the contraction in the sacral chakra or other parts of your body and start to breathe into it. What we can use our mind to is to face the fear. It is to find where the discomfort lives in your system, what it's trying to tell you, and to be conscious enough, aware enough, to recognize that it's not the truth that the abandonment wound is telling me. That, like my inner program used to tell me, that no matter what you try, you are going to lose, and you are a failure, and you are not worthy of any kind of success. That is my old program, and it ran for a long time in the background. And I was deeply convinced. It was a core belief within me. And as my shaman teacher took me in, and then I started doing all the psychedelic journeys, that shifted. And then I started also doing the healing inside, right? The breathing into the different contractions, to the trauma that's stuck in the heart, in the sacral chakra, in the root chakra, in the different parts. To create space within the body so that the body can begin to heal it. So that the body can begin to digest these undigested feelings that has gotten stuck. So if you experienced some form of trauma when you were little, of abandonment, one form or another, it usually gets stuck within you. And if you can see the world a little bit more from this perspective, we suddenly begin to understand more and more people. And you may be able to understand why you have acted in certain ways in relationships, or why your partner has acted in certain ways in relationships. Because most of the things we do, so many people will judge it as, that person is controlling, that person is just jealous, that person is negative about this or that. Or even when you're too outgoing, right? A lot of people are too outgoing, seeking validation wherever they go, having no sense of personal boundaries or integrity. All of that, right? If you feel abandoned, you might have found that if I get more attention from everyone, if everybody just loves me, then I will feel okay. And if that's how you express it, it's going to be hard for people to trust you, because you're going to be giving yourself away everywhere you go. And vice versa, if you become fear-based and you are trying to grab people, hold on to people based in the abandonment wound, then you become controlling. But even that is based in abandonment, yes? So as we start to see that, we can bring compassion into the picture, both for ourselves and for whoever has been our partners throughout our lives. So you can start to see a different story playing out. If you can add the energy of the abandonment wound, and you can start to see it, and you can start to breathe space into it, because when you start breathing space to it, and also not shying away from the abandonment. If you feel it arising within you, or if you feel that discomfort, like, oh, I don't like the feeling in my gut, right? I'm hungry, maybe I need to eat something. If you can feel the discomfort, breathe into it and face it. Move your awareness towards the pain and the suffering without becoming it, right? The trick is to not become it. The trick is to not truly believe the story that plays out in your mind. To have that higher sense of awareness, where when you are still aware, you'll be like, oh, I can see this program is trying to play out in my mind. I can see the program playing out that I'm a hopeless case. I can see the program playing out that no matter what I try, it's not going to work. If I can stay in my higher space, higher awareness, I'll be able to see through that program. This is also, if I continue meditation, with a continued meditation, you'll be more and more grounded and anchored into the now. And as you are, it becomes much easier to see, uh-oh, what's going on right now? What's wrong right now? Why am I feeling a certain way? Whether it be angry, sad, lonely, abandoned, whatever it may be. And then you start to sit with that, and you sit with the abandonment wound, and you start to see, you can hold the little abandoned person in light. You can hold that little 5, 6, 7-year-old person who's screaming from the top of their lungs. Hold them in love and light. Make them feel comfortable. Just like you then start to heal inside of yourself. And as that process begins, miraculous healings will take place for you. And suddenly the need for a specific person or for other people to like you may just vanish. And here's the last part. When your abandonment wound is beginning to heal, you're also stepping fully into the energy and the awareness of non-separation, of true oneness, of gaining access to your higher self, right? Because as long as you're still believing in abandonment, that also means that a separate self can come and save you, that there are separate selves that you need rescuing. But as you start to heal the abandonment wound, you also become more deeply aware of that force of the one, that your consciousness. There's a beautiful saying from the Advaita movement, the non-violent communication movement, where they're saying, what's watching you through my eyes is the same that's watching me through your eyes. And if you can sit with that saying, for the statement, for just a few moments, and then sit with somebody and say it or feel it. What's watching you through my eyes is the same that's watching me through your eyes. That is how the higher consciousness works. But when we are completely sucked into modern thinking of separation, being isolated from others, we don't live in that space. But as you heal the abandonment wound, you're also healing the sense of separation. And everything changes. Our power comes back to us. We start getting a different sense of aliveness in our system. Everything changes. But this healing is a journey. It is not a one time is going to fix us. It's not going to, for a one time, a weekend retreat. Even a one-time 2-week experience with ayahuasca in the jungle somewhere is not the full journey. It is, of course, a very powerful opening of you, and so much messaging can come into you. But the real journey is the continued growth, the trajectory of our lives, starting to implement meditation in your daily lives, growing, continuously growing. Alrighty, thank you for listening in, and thank you for attending this talk on the abandonment wound. I hope you could relate. I hope you could find some tidbits that worked for you, and I'll be back at some point soon. Thank you for following this channel. So much love. Namaste and aho.